Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shred Show Live with me, your host, Josh Pitts. I'm excited to have Neel hanging out with me. I've never had him on the show, and I'm baffled that I never have before, but you're about to learn from one of the masters of social media, somebody who took his business from 300,000 to over 2 million a year using social media. If you think social media is a waste of time, you're about to get a huge wake-up call. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to miss this episode. Volume up. Let's go shred. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Neel Home, also known as Neel Dhingra. Neel, what's up, brother?
What's up, Josh? Hey, man, thanks for bringing me on, dude. I know we meant to do this probably a year ago, and then that's how crazy the last year has been. It's just flown by.
Literally has flown by with all the fun and all the exciting things that are going on in our world, the COVID world, man. But I'm excited to have you on. You're truly one of those inspirations to me, watching you as a mortgage professional, putting out content, engaging with your audience. You're somebody who does it so awesome, and you do it so frequently, so consistently. And I'm excited to kind of share your story for those who haven't heard it before. Before we get into the details of social media, kind of share your background. I mean, you've been in the mortgage banking industry for what, since 2007, right?
Yeah, I got in actually 2002 is when I first started, so it's been a while. I'm an old guy now. Yeah, dude, I got in a long time ago and wrote it up, in the first wave that was, kind of fake, I guess you would say, the bubble. And then the market crashed, and then just reset and rebuilt from there. And been just typical traditional loan officer, referral based, relationship based loan officer. And I kind of got turned on to some things online in about late 2017, early 2018. And I kind of saw that, hey, I need to pivot my strategy because I was getting sick of being commoditized.
Sure.
And the market did slow down in that year. And I think people forget this right now. It's hard to imagine, but markets go up and they go down, and there's ebb and flow. It doesn't have to be a recession. And we had a slowdown in 2018. And a lot of people, rates were like approaching 5%, which is still great, but
Sure.
It's nowhere near how it is right now. But that kind of caused me to look, hey, dude, how am I going to be different than the thousands of originators in my market? How am I going to stand out? How am I going to get business when, we're losing 1 in every 10 deals to Quicken, and next year it's 2 out of 10. And then the next year, and a lot of people, when you go online, you see these guys in the lending community, they will shit on the Quicken post. They'll be like, oh yeah, those guys are terrible, and they laugh. But at the end of the day, it's the number 1 lender in the country.
No question.
So, I mean, results, like, they're getting more clients than any other lender in the country. Why? Because they're dominating the attention, right? So how are we going to compete with that? And that's where I got into all this stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Well, dude, I'm excited because being that we're an attention impact network, that's what it is. It's getting their attention and impacting the audience. And that's what you're doing through your content. And I love, reading your LinkedIn profile, reading your, all of your profiles out there. It's content creator, and then real estate investor, and then mortgage professional. Like, did you ever think when you started your mortgage career that you would almost shift to it? Because content creation is one of the biggest parts of what you do now. Did you ever think you'd be a content creator?
No, never, dude. I'm the last guy. I am the absolute last guy you would think of to do content. But the reason why that's first is because without the attention, how is anybody going to know that I'm the best? How are they going to know that I'm super knowledgeable, right? Only my friends and family in my small sphere knows that. How can I let the rest of the state, region, country know this, right? And that's where I got into, like, okay, attention is first. Then comes everything else, because if people aren't aware of you, then, nothing else matters.
Dude, that is so impact like that right there. If people don't know about you, if people don't know your brand, if they don't know Neel Dhingra, then nothing else matters. It's funny. Me and Alec
Yeah.
Hansen were literally talking about this. If somebody sees a Quicken commercial, I mean, again, everybody loves to bash them, but let's just say it is what it is. If somebody sees a Quicken or another, lender out there, they see their commercial and they don't think of Neel Home immediately, you've lost. Like that's all you want is to put your content out there. So when people see it, they're like, Neel's my guy. Like I have a relationship. I built that trust. I see his content all the time. He's my dude. I don't care about Quicken. Neel's my guy. And that's why you put out the content the way you do, right?
Exactly, dude. I mean, this is the I mean, like it's just like you said, you can't compete if they don't know that you're an option. And you can't complain that a client went with a competitor when you didn't let them know what's the difference. A lot of people are like, well, why did they go to Quicken? They got a higher rate. They got worse. They didn't get any, great advice. They didn't get anything. And all they got was some cool, sleek app where, they uploaded the docs, which every lender should have nowadays anyways.
Oh,
so
sure.
Why did they go there? Well, they went there because that's who they were aware of. And that's the brand they trusted because they saw the ad 15 times and they saw, the National Football Championship sponsored by this, and they saw this event sponsored by this. So like these guys have billions to invest in marketing. And I just don't understand how the average guy in our industry is not worried about the future. Like, the people are, I don't know. I was doing an interview with Barry Habib, who's awesome. And he said this term, I didn't quite understand it, but he said most originators are whistling past the graveyard. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't get it at first. Maybe that's like before my time. I don't know. But I guess it's like, the writing's on the wall and you're just, oblivious. You're like, dude, I'm doing great. I posted the other day about how we need to do more content and please join me. I was just joking to the LOs in my community. I was like, dude, it's getting lonely out here dominating on content. Can any of you guys jump in? Let's collaborate.
Step it up.
Yeah. And a dude commented and he's like, don't talk to us like that. We don't need to do content. I've got plenty of business. I don't need to do content. Dude. And I was like, yeah, that's true today. But what about, tomorrow? It's raining loans today. You don't need to do shit, right? You can just take a basket out and catch some. But what about in the future? What are you going to do?
Alec and I were literally having this conversation just a couple hours ago because it's baffling to me. So many people, 2020 basically fogged everybody. They're just like, dude, I can get business. I don't need no social media. And I told you right before I got on this call, I had a conversation with a client or a prospective client. They're like, do I really need to be on social media? Like, and I'm like, yes. Like, are you serious? Like, if you're not leveraging social media, you're absolutely insane. And it's guys like yourself, Neel, that continue to put out consistent content that are going to wipe everybody else out. And 2021 is going to be a year of content. Everybody had their blinders on and it was just such a plethora. Everybody had so much business just dropping in their basket. But this consistent content, I guarantee, I promise you guys, come back and watch this video in a year, 2 years. Neel will be absolutely one of the top, absolute just blowing everybody out of the water in this industry because you're doing it now. Everybody else is still questioning it and asking, should I even start? And even this guy that questions you, like, to me, and in my honest and humble opinion, and it may hurt some of you, but it's time for you to get the hell out anyway. Like, to be honest, like if you just think it's going to continue to fall into your lap, you're insane.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like maybe you're retiring in the next 4 years, right? You could probably just slowly decline. I'm not okay with slowly declining. I'm not okay with, becoming less effective and less relevant. So I'm 39. Some people think that's old in our industry, but, that means you probably have 20 years of work left. Like, are you people are crazy in real estate and mortgages. They're like, yeah, I'm just going to bang it out, make a bunch of money and then retire. You're not retiring in a few years, bro. Like you're going to be doing this job for the next decade or more.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to stay relevant? And don't have this fantasy of like, I'm going to close a bunch of deals because rates are low. And then I'm going to go to Mexico and retire on a beach. It ain't happening. Like, how many, what I mean? Like you have to think about the long game. And that's where people they are only focused on this month's numbers. And that's a fault of a lot of the organizations. Everyone wants to know your pipeline right now, what's going on right now. It's very, very short term. So nobody's encouraging you to think about the long term. And that's where you have to think for yourself because the organizations are in the business of closing the maximum amount of deals, making the most amount of money in the short term. And so that's what they care about. They want you to promote their brands. And there's a great companies, by the way. Like the company I
Sure.
work with, they're awesome. The owner's awesome. I have a great relationship with these people. But they're never going to tell me to, promote myself. They're never going to put that first. They're going to promote themselves first. So you have to take it upon yourself to promote yourself first, because you're the brand, not the
Right.
company you work for. I've had people reach out to me. They don't even know who the lender is. They just
Yep.
know me. I mean,
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Dude, that you are literally saying everything. And ladies and gentlemen, you should be taking notes. This is exactly what you need to hear. If you haven't started creating content, if you haven't started doing what Neel is talking about, you're going to lose. You're going to lose to great people like Neel because they're doing it right now. So let's kind of take a quick step back. As you mentioned something, you talk about content. And this is something that most people, they get really overwhelmed with. They get scared with it. They're like, I don't even what do I even put out for content? Like, how do you do? So number one, where did you start with content? And then where does content come from for you now?
So in the beginning, I would just start promoting myself, and then the content sucks. It fails, right? Because you're like, hey, I'm the best guy. Call me. And,
Yep.
I got the best rates. Call me. It's like nobody cares about that stuff. So then you have to get into, okay, now put the audience first. Like, what are they interested in? What do they need from us? So there's two categories for a loan originator. One is, your sphere of your clients, your past clients, potential future clients. What do they need help with? They need help with what's going on with lending, what's going on with the real estate market in your community, how to do this, how to buy their first rental, what is PMI, why should you pay it, what, all these things about lending, right? So these
Yep.
topics, you just start listing problems, questions that clients have, and how you would answer them. Because if you've been in this business for a while, you answer these questions on a daily basis anyways. So those Q&As are basically pieces of individual content. Now, you can also get into the content, which is where I started doing more of, is helping other real estate professionals in your market learn how to do what you're doing. Help them with content. Like, okay, so why aren't you guys putting out content? Real estate agents need to do the same thing. Like they're no different than us. They need to be relevant. There's big brands coming after their market share. So help them. What kind of content can they do? So I just kind of put out content to like the business community, which is, other lending professionals and real estate professionals, and then also content directly to the consumer to help them with finance hacks, mortgage hacks, real estate knowledge. And that's where I kind of excelled. Was I'm a nerd. I like the numbers. I just leaned into that. So every person may be different. Somebody else told me to do content about community content. Go interview the local businesses, go, do restaurants, things like that. I tried that for a few episodes and I wasn't passionate about it. So it fails. The audience can tell you're not into it. You're just trying to check the box of content. So every individual needs to find what they want to talk about, and that's what's going to be sustainable. Don't just copy somebody because, you can copy people, that's fine. But you also need to find out your own perspective, what you would want to do, because that's what's going to last.
Well, it's what you enjoy. Dude, this is so cool. And this is a story of, for lack of a better term, failure, where you learn from like, hey, I don't love doing that. So I'm not going to do that anymore. But what you did is you tried it. You saw somebody else doing it. You went and did it. And you didn't keep doing it because that's what other people are doing. You said, well, no, I don't want to do that. It's just not something I'm passionate about. So I'm going to go continue to put out content around what I'm passionate about. This is perfect. There's so many people think they have to copy you or have to copy me. They see what we're doing. They're like, well, if he's doing it, it must be working. So I have to do it. And then they force it. And their audience, just like you said, our audiences have a bullshit meter. Like they know what we're trying. Like they totally can see through the shit. They're like, no, Neel's faking. Like he's just trying to put out content. But they can see, like when I watch your content, Neel, when I watch you on Instagram or when I watch you on Facebook, YouTube, I can see that like you love answering those questions. Like you love engaging with your audience in that way. You're knowledgeable about it. You're excited about it. Find content around that, whether it's mortgage, whether it's your personal, whatever those things that you really enjoy doing. Maybe you love local restaurants. Maybe you're a foodie. Maybe that's really what gets you going. So go do those style of interviews. But just because, it didn't work for Neel doesn't mean it can't not work for you.
Yeah, that's a great content strategy. I know other people who have really blown up their business doing consistent community videos and then mixing in some informational content along the way. So everybody should just find what they're interested in and lean in there. Show your personal stuff as well as bring it back to business. And the other problem I think that people are, they get caught up in like, I'm not that good at it, so or I'm not comfortable with it. But at the same time, like I don't think anybody's just super like when you first started this, Josh, were you like, I don't think you had the energy level and the comfort on camera, but then it just gets easier, so
Yeah.
it's just, you just learn by doing, it sounds kind of like a broken record at this point, but it's literally the only way you're going to get better at it.
It's the only way, dude. I look back some of my first videos and I just laugh and I'm like, wow, it was so bad. But you do. We learn, we get better, we improve, and you have to just be willing to start to make those mistakes, even like you did. You went out and tried to make some content and you're like, that's not my favorite content. Then you move on and you find, once you find it, you'll know. Because as soon as you find that thing where you're just like, I could talk about this every day for hours a day, I love this. That's build content around
Yeah.
that and just go with it. And like I said, for most of you, it's not going to be talking about even mortgages or real estate. Most of it's going to be talking about something that outside of that. And then you're going to be able to bring it back into your profession, to your career of mortgage or real estate or whatever it may be. So
yeah, and just people stop at the surface level. So
Yeah.
you're talking about, that's why the content fails. You're like, here's the rates. Okay, rates are low. I've heard this ad nauseum. Consumers are sick of this. Okay, let's talk about what do low rates mean for you? Okay, well, this means that your purchase power went up by X percent. Let's look at a real example. This house last year, this house this year. This house is more expensive this year, but borrowing costs have fallen dramatically. So the payment is actually lower. Like, show people real examples of how it would benefit them. Don't just display facts or spout facts like, oh, the conforming loan limits have gone up. Okay, what does that mean for you? That means you can, this is how you could leverage this to get a higher priced home for your first home or whatever, without having to pay, without having to go into jumbo. Like, just make it contextual. And I think that you can make even dry topics more engaging and more interesting if you just go a little bit deeper. So that's a key thing. And then I think, the other problem that I see with a lot of content right now is they, like, or a lot of the advice is that everyone's just saying, do it, do it, do it. And the thing I like about shows like you is you're actually giving people actionable advice, like tactics that they could use or copy. And I tell people all the time, like, look at my YouTube or look at the content and just do your own take on the same video. That's how I got the idea. And just before you do any video that you're talking about some more detailed subject, just make sure you know the topics, right? So if I'm going to shoot a 3-minute video about rental properties, or why I like, I like these over the stock market, and here's why.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't reach the limits of my knowledge on the topic within the 3-minute video.
Exactly.
Because then the audience can tell, so even if you script it out and you just read it all, like, it's something subconscious. Even if you did it perfectly, they can tell that, it's your knowledge isn't quite there. So what you want to do is, like you said, pick topics that you could discuss at length and then narrow it down to these quick bullet points. And then you could use those in your content. I think of, like, trying to make it in the simplest terms and put it out that way. And you'll find more people will engage with it when you do it that way.
No, I absolutely agree. Because ultimately that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to educate that audience. You're trying to get them to be like, Neel's he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's my trusted voice in real estate. Like, he's the guy. When they see that commercial, they're like, man, I've been watching Neel's content. I've just been ingesting it. I love it. He's just so knowledgeable. He's so brilliant. So there's not even a second guess. Even if they see a Quicken, or if they see somebody else's commercial, they're gonna be like, well, Neel, like, again, you've built that relationship through that content, through building that trust, through your brand. Again, I talk about this a lot. Your brand is ultimately your relationship, is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So, I mean, you're just saying so many things that resonate. And you're, what I love most, to be frank and be honest, you're a practitioner of it. You're not just somebody who's talking about it like, hey, I think, I've seen Gary Vee do this, or I've seen somebody else do this, but you're actually doing it. And clearly, like, it's helped your business grow exponentially. So that, to me, it's just exciting. It's so cool to see somebody who has taken this and has just implemented in their business, and you've seen the exponential growth. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just learning by doing it. And I have many times I've put out content that completely fails, sucks. You don't really get anything from it, but that's how you get to the pieces that do work. And I'll give you guys kind of some ideas on.
Love it.
You talk about, like, what the content you should be doing. Go to Google Trends and look up the trends of what people are searching for in your market. Like, you can put in keywords like real estate market, mortgages, and then it will give you like specific key searches that people are typing in, like literally 2021 housing crash, or uh, how to buy a rental property. Is the market at the top? You know, when will prices come down? There's all these topics, right? So you look at what consumers are really interested in, and then research those topics, find other things, curate that content, and then put out content about that. And that type of informational content will do really well. I think a lot of times we are creating content with what we have, with in mind, like what we want to get out of it. But you have to think about what the consumer is going to get out of it, and then you'll get your returns.
Oh man, see, I love this, guys. Practical. He's giving you some advice. Go do it. Go. I love the search terms on Google. You can do it on YouTube. Go find what people are looking for and then create content around that. If you're wondering, like, well, what are people? What do they want to hear? It's right there at your fingertips, and that's how you're doing it.
Free. I mean, it's literally free. You can go to Google
is.
Trends right now. It's free. Look at the search terms. The another site you can go to is called answerthepublic.com.
Yeah.
You can put in the questions. They'll give you the terms, and then just start making that list of stuff. And then what you'll find is, if you're not a creative person, because a lot of us are not creative, I'm not, a super creative guy. By doing more, by creating more, you become creative. So then what happens is, now you get a whole bunch of ideas. Now I've got so many ideas, I can't possibly shoot them all because there's just too many ideas, right? I mean, if you think about all the ideas, Josh, you have right now, like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this event, I want to do this content. Like, you'll never get to all of your ideas at this point, because once you started creating, it became like an avalanche of ideas. You go from having zero idea what you're going to do to having so many things, you'll never do them all. And that's what's cool about this. And also, not to mention, how many of us are burnt out? How many of us are, been doing this for a while? You get tired of, the grind. It's hard work, this business, right? So this actually makes you like your job again. You know what I mean? Like, this is fun. Like, putting, helping people, the engagement you get, it's, making money is cool, but like switching over to just working on the amount of people you can reach and help, all of a sudden it changes the game a little bit and makes it more fun again. And then all of a sudden you end up with more money, kind of just works out like that.
It's a win-win-win. But I love what you said. Creating produces creativity. Creating builds creativity. And that, it is 100% true. I've never even thought about that but now discussing it, it totally does. I wasn't a creative person, but the more I created content, the more creative I got. And like you said, now I have millions of ideas that I will never create content on, just because I keep on creating. I keep watching others. I keep doing it. And then now I just have a plethora of ideas in my mind. So, I mean, Neel, these are such brilliant ideas. And these are the things, again, that you're a practitioner of. And you've seen your business, triple, quadruple, even, exponentially grow from the content that you're putting out. And that's what's exciting to me is you're somebody who is paving the way. You're showing others that it's possible, and you're going to continue to do it. And I truly mean this. Come back here, ladies and gentlemen, a year or two from now when I have Neel back on, and he's one of the handful of people who absolutely own and dominate the industry because he's doing it right now. I guarantee, I know it's going to happen. So, Neel, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. It's really been, even for me, man, it's been inspiring. It's opened my eyes. The whole creativity thing, that is such an open. It's exciting for me. It's so cool to see and to give everybody ideas. So I appreciate your valuable and expertise that you've shared with everybody today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh, man, and thanks for what you do for the industry. I know you work with teams and LOs one-on-one, but I mean, there's just a ton of free content that you put out that anybody can benefit from, just like what we're doing here. And the more people that do that, the more we can move our industry forward. So that's awesome that you're doing this. And then real quick, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you a question.
Of course.
As far as all the people you've been talking to the last year, I've noticed in 2020, the acceleration of this stuff working. So in the past, you could argue like, hey, dude, I'm doing this, you're doing that, I'm doing better than you, and we can debate that. Now there's no debate in my mind, because all these people are consuming so much content now because of COVID. It accelerated the trend. And if you look in e-commerce, if you look in, traffic to Zillow, if you look at any of these things, it went up like a bolt, like a dart, like a rocket, right? So now, when you've been talking to people over the last year, Are you seeing more adoption? Like, are people coming around to this at the organizations and the LO levels, or are they still kind of like, are you still having to drag them?
Dude, this is such a good question. I'm still having to drag them. Like even
Really?
with, and we share analytics and we share the things that we're watching as Shred Media. And again, even this company, I told you just before this, they said, is it really worth getting into now? Have we missed it? I'm like, no, like you need to get in now, because if you wait another 6 months or a year, you may have missed it. Even then, who knows? But no, dude, I'm still having to push people into it. And dude, it pains me. It makes me sad that people aren't doing it. Like they're not.
Yeah.
And it's people like you and I who can continue to put out. You said this in the very beginning. We're like a broken record. We keep saying it, but we keep saying the same things because I still don't see people doing them. I'm seeing
Yeah.
a few more, but the people that I'm seeing really succeed, and you nailed it, because guys like yourself and other guys and gals in the industry who are continually doing it, they've exponentially grown, and they're going to leave everybody in the dust. And again, it's just facts. I've seen it firsthand. You've seen it, but yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. I'm still having to push people, especially larger organizations. I wish they would jump on the bandwagon and like, hey, let's go, let's create content, but they still just drag their feet. Our industry in particular is just so set. It's such a fixed mindset, and breaking out of that shell is just so difficult. But it's really cool to hear that your organization, the company that you're with, they see it. They're like, you know what? We support Neel. You go, man. Like, go out there, build your brand, and do it. So it's exciting. And again, I think we're going to continue to see people like yourself and others who are willing to put out content just own the space.
Big time. Yeah. And I'll kind of wrap up with this is like, if you're listening to this or you're watching this and you're an LO, like, when in your life have you ever come across an opportunity like this where like, hey, I'll prove it to people if they want. Like, I'll show them the exact numbers on like how much interactions are coming, how many conversations are coming as a result of the content, how many deals that led to, and then, how much money it comes to the bottom line. You have to do it long enough to get those numbers, but it comes to real financial success. So if you saw this and you're like, hey, when have you ever come across an opportunity like this where what you're talking about, literally no one in your market is doing? It's just it's like an open land grab. It's just insane, the opportunity. I've never seen it before. And I'm like, okay, how many other guys are doing this in my market? You know what I mean? Like,
zip.
I mean, so are they good? I mean, and then let's just say you do a couple things and then somebody else will be like, oh, I'm going to copy Neel, I'm going to do that. They don't stick with it. So it's the same reason why when you go to the gym, it's, 7 a.m. or whatever, it's empty. Everybody knows what to do. They know exactly, the gym can hold hundreds of people and there's 3 guys there, right?
Yep.
So this is how you separate from the entire competition, and just through your consistency, you'll get the results. It's almost guaranteed that you'll have results as long as you keep improving your content. So if people have questions, reach out to me, hit us up, Josh, me, anybody. And I think, like, I speak for you too, Josh. We're always happy to help other people in the industry.
Always. And I want to end with that, Neel, because if anybody does have questions or they want to consume your content, again, I love it. What's your handle? It's at Neel Home on most platforms, right?
Yeah. So it's at Neel Home on Instagram, Twitter, same. And then also on YouTube, you just search hashtag Neel Home and my channel will come up. So
nice.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with more people.
Dude, again, you're an inspiration. You're leading the way. It's so exciting, and it's such a breath of fresh air to see somebody like you in the trenches doing it and then willing to share all this value with those listening. So, Neel, can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate you. I want to definitely have you back on in a few months, just talking about 2021 is going to be an interesting year, because I agree with you. Going back to what you said, we hope more will jump on the bandwagon, but for right now, the space is wide open, especially in our communities, in the states where we live. There's so much opportunity. So we hope you guys listen. Take Neel's advice right now. Get started today. And if you have questions, reach out to us. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. We'll see you guys. Thanks so much, Neel.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you again so much for joining us for today's show. If you like the content, make sure you hit that like button below. And if you already haven't subscribed to our channel, click right over here and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see our latest video, click over here. And again, if you want to see the best of daily content within the mortgage and real estate industries, you have to subscribe now. We look forward to having you shred with us every single day.